Hello, this is Karia again, and I have another video for you today. Today I will be reviewing the Koh-I-Noor Polycolor colored pencils, and I am extremely excited. I was so impressed by these pencils. So let's get started. So before we start, I want to take a moment to thank the patrons over on Patreon for making this video possible. It was thanks to their wonderful donations that I was able to purchase this video. If you would like to know more about my Patreon and help support this channel, there will be a link up there to the Patreon. And I think I'm going to call the videos, I'm going to call this a Patreon funded video because it was paid for by the patrons and their wonderful donations. All right, so let's get started. Koh-I-Noor is a company based out of the Czech Republic. They made a number of different lines of colored pencils. I took if you go back to, I think maybe my first or my second video, I did a brief look at their solid pigment pencils, their woodless colored pencils, and I was not really that impressed by them, so I haven't really looked again, but I did see these listed and I saw a couple of other people talk about them, so I was able to, thanks to the patrons and their donations, I was able to get these pencils, and I got them and I was super impressed by them. I was just shocked at just how wonderful they are. Let me get this open. They come in this really cool tin, which is really nice because sometimes when you get things at this price point, you don't always get a tin, and they do sometimes move around, as you saw here, only because I was like moving it around, but that's okay. So these are the 12 pencils that came in my particular set. They sharpen really, really well. Let me talk to you about the different sets they come in, because the sets of 12 that they come in are really interesting. This is a big booklet with a whole bunch of different things for them, but these are the polycolored colored pencils. They come in a set of assorted 12, right, which is the set that I have, a set of like black and white 12, grays, I'm sorry, they're called the grays 12, set of brown 12s, a set of portrait 24, landscape 24, and assorted 24. In addition to that, they come in 36, 48, 72, and then there's a wood set of 36 as well, in addition to the regular set of 36. So that's the ones that come in. The prices in the US vary widely. It's a little bit crazy. Let me show you the prices that I saw on Amazon. So prices I paid $6.25 for this, because I think it was on special when I got it. But currently the 24 pencils are listed for $29. But if you go up to the set of 72, currently listed for $59, which I think is also a special on these pencils. And I am so, like, I don't need any more pencils that I'm not going to review, but I really want to get the set of 72. Like, that's how good these pencils are. So let me talk to you about, actually, let me show you a page that I made with just these 12 pencils. And I just want to show you the way they layered, the way they shaded, especially over here in this area here. I did a lot of layers. It did get to the point where it wouldn't take anymore, but it was after a lot of layers. I think in my experience, I found that these layered really, really nicely, because it was such a limited color palette. In order to get this particular shade of brown, I did have to do the thing where I put the color down and then lift a little bit off and then put some more color down to get the exact shade that I wanted of brown. But you shouldn't need to do that when there are more colors available. And I also found that when you put a lot of pressure down, I know some people really like to do that. I almost never do the burnishing where you use a lot of pressure. I kind of like the colored pencil look, but if you do burnish, when you do that, you get these beautiful, strong, vibrant pigments. And I must say that I was extremely, extremely impressed by these. Let me show you the color chart right here, so that you can see the vibrancy of the color in the color chart. Let me move this out of the way briefly and just show you the vibrancy of the colors in the color chart, especially the yellow. I've talked to you guys about how much I love seeing the yellow for the test and seeing the way the yellow reacts. And the yellow reacted really nicely. The only thing that I really had a problem with, they were really soft, very easy to color. Let me swatch these out for you and show you. The only thing I really had a problem with is that the wood casing of these pencils is a little bit smaller than I'm used to. So I did have a little bit of hand fatigue when I was doing the burnishing and getting the heavy color here. I did have a little bit of hand fatigue just because these are smaller than the Polychromos and some of the other ones that I'm more used to having smaller around. The core, I think, looks to be a little bit smaller, but not really that much smaller. So because of that, I did have a little bit of hand fatigue. But let me swatch these out for you right here and just show you how quickly they lay this color down. Look at that. Look at how quickly that goes down. And that's just one layer. So that was one thing else that I really was truly impressed by these pencils. Look at that. Look at this intensity of color here. Let's see if I can get a little closer so you guys can see. You know what? I'm going to pause right here and see if I can get the camera a little closer so you guys can see more in detail as I'm laying down the color. All right, so this is the next color. So this particular set did not really have, because it was only a 12 color set, there's kind of a limit to the number of, you know, the reds and the blues. But once you get the larger sets, I was not able to find a color chart to know exactly what colors come in. But usually once you get over, you know, over 24 colors, I'm sorry, not 24, over 48 colors, it should be just a matter of convenience, but you should have most of your really good colors. You should have, you know, a warm blue, a cool blue, which is in this set. You should have a more earthy blue, more earthy green, and so on and so forth. But I was not able to get a color chart to know 100% sure what's in the 72 colors. So that might be an issue if you like to have, you know, like if you like to have if you like to have a lot of colors. But you can see from here, this is the kind of pigmentation that that people see in the Prismacolor and some of the higher end artist grade pencils. So this is really good. And matter of fact, if you are in, if you are in Europe and you are somewhere where the prices are a little bit more affordable than they are here, because I think we do pay premium to have these imported, then I think these are definitely a better choice than the Prismacolor. So depending on what region you are in the world, you may want to look at these as a replacement for Prismacolors, even though, like I said, the Prismacolors have 72 colors and these only have, the Prismacolors have 150 colors and these only come in 72 colors is the maximum that I saw, and that was the maximum that was listed in the booklet. So if you like to have, that level of colors, I don't think these are a replacement for the Prismacolors. But if you are okay with having just 72 colors, then I think this is probably a pretty good replacement for the Prismacolors. I found that they layered well, they blended well, they did pretty much everything that I asked them to do, and except for the issue of not having sufficient colors, I wasn't really able to ever find a point where I felt like I didn't have the control with the colors that I wanted to have. It was more an issue of just having enough colors, and because of the price differential at the time of purchase between getting the 12 and the 24, I ended up only getting the 12. But if it had been somewhere like, I think Jackson's has the 24 for $18. Jackson's Art Supply in the UK, they have the 24 for $18. So in that kind of a situation, I would of course get at least the 24. So anyway, that's just going on about, the prices in different regions and something to keep in mind. But let me once again show you the color chart, which, like I said, I was super impressed with. The finished page that I made. And actually, I'm gonna go back out a little bit just to show you. Okay, the finished page that I did. And then now I'm gonna do what I like to do, and what I started doing in my most recent reviews is I like to take a moment and compare these to some of the other brands of colored pencils, so you can see what I'm talking about in terms of the color vibrancy and some of the other things that I talk about in these reviews. So you can see the Polycolor Koh-I-Noor on top versus the Crayola, and the difference is, you know, it's a huge difference. I mean, it's also a huge difference in price, but you can see that difference there. You can also see the difference between these and the other Polycolor pencils. There's like 3 different companies that have pencils called Polycolors. It's a little confusing, but this is the, you know, you can see the comparison between the Lyra Polycolor and the Koh-I-Noor Polycolor, and the red has already started to fade. Even though this hasn't been in the light, you can see the huge difference between the yellow and the red. That's because the red is already started to fade. So I'm not sure quite how light fast the Lyra Polycolors were supposed to be light fast, but I'm not sure quite how light fast, because that is some serious fading on the red right there. But you can see the difference between that red and the Koh-I-Noor Polycolor, as well as some of the colors with the Koh-I-Noor Polycolor. Once again, you can see some of the fading already starting to happen in some of these colors, which was kind of a little bit of a surprise because I was told that these were supposed to be light fast. Anyway, this is the Erogatin Tombow pencils. So you can see they are still more pigmented than the Erogatin Tombow pencils. You can also see these are the Blackwing colors, and I'm sorry, I will write the name of the Blackwing at the bottom, but these are the Blackwing colors which I reviewed recently, and these are a new brand of colored pencils, and I really was quite impressed with them, and they will be a link to those up there. So these are the Blackwing pencils. Next we have the Prismacolor Softcore pencils, and like I was telling you, I think they're a really good replacement for the Prismacolor Softcore. You can see here the difference between the Prismacolor and these there's not really that much of a difference. So you know, the only difference might be in terms of these might be a little bit softer and easier to get into the tooth when you burnish, but otherwise I really found them to be a very, very suitable replacement for the Prismacolor. And then this is the Polychromos, and Polychromos, you can see the Polychromos is doing really well as well. The Polychromos do have more colors, but you can see the difference, especially on the yellow and the blending. I think that this was done with the lighter shade, so I think it's not so much that there's not the intensity in the Polychromos, but that I just didn't do as many layers with the Polychromos as I did with these. So I'll probably go back in with the Polychromos and put in a couple more layers, because this could definitely still take more layers. But I do want to show you the colors in general, and you can see they do really well. I'm really impressed by the Koh-I-Noors. They do really well. And the last one is the Luminance, which, you know, the Luminance is different because they are so light fast. So the Luminance is I think the Luminance are made more for if you're going to use a solvent to blend, so that it's a little bit easier to get into the tooth of the paper. So the Luminance in this case aren't as much into the tooth of the paper. You can see that they get much more into the tooth of the paper once you use a blender pencil or you use some kind of solvent, but I didn't do that. So there's that. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because they are like I said, they are extremely light fast, and there's definitely a premium on that. So, but anyway, you can see the comparison in terms of the colors here, and how well they go. But overall, I was extremely impressed by these Polycolor, by these Koh-I-Noor Polycolor colored pencils, which for some reason stumbles me when I say it. But I must say, I absolutely cannot say enough how surprised and impressed I am by these pencils. I absolutely recommend these pencils if you are in the region, if these are in your budget, if you like the colors that they come in, but I wasn't able to find a color chart, so that probably more applies to you if you are in Europe where you can actually see them, you know, closer to hand. But otherwise, you know, and if you're looking for something a little bit different than, you know, the other brands of colored pencils, I know a lot of people have a lot of different brands of colored pencils, and they are, you know, sometimes you're looking for something a little bit different, something a little bit challenging. I totally recommend these. I was absolutely surprised by how well these did. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments below. Tell me something that really surprised you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hey, buddy. Who's your buddy? Who's your buddy? What's your buddy? You want to help with the review, buddy?